And then maybe I'll sit between you, the two of you here,
I'm just
and then
gonna,
you'll be.
I'm gonna hang out over here.
Okay, dear.
You wouldn't happen to have a Kleenex, would you?
You know, I don't.
I usually
You
carry
need
them
a-
around because I've got allergies and I didn't bring one with
And
me.
today you definitely need one. Oh, shucks.
So I'm sniffling.
Oh, well, I'm happy to work through those as well too.
You can edit out the sniffles.
No worries. I appreciate you being willing to be a part of this, though. So my name is Biniam. What's your name?
Biniam, hi, I'm Dave.
Nice to meet you, Dave. Thank you for being a part of this.
Happy to help out.
So I've got a list of questions from 1 to 15. Choose me one of those numbers, and then we'll see what we're going to talk about.
Let's go with lucky 7.
Number 7. Okay. Here's a question. On the theme of integrity, where does integrity begin?
Well,
It's Dave, right?
Dave, yes.
Let's maybe start off on a different vantage where we define what integrity means to you.
Okay. Well, when I think of integrity, I think of having a moral compass, high ethical standards, that you're conscientious,
Yes.
patient, understanding, forgiving, you're a loving person. I think those are a lot of the main characteristics.
Love it, love it. Where does integrity begin, or the experience of integrity?
Well, I would think that to a large extent, the human spirit has a lot of that instilled in us from birth. And although we go through different growth phases and different levels of education, I think that even when there's bad behavior or people make poor decisions, I think that for the most part they regret those poor decisions or behaviors.
They feel it.
And yes, and that in the right.
Sorry, 1 second here. My camera is just. This is why it's nice to have a few different inputs.
Yeah. And that they will come to recognize that those choices weren't the best choices, given that they're in an average surroundings. But I know that people that grew up in traumatic households, have very difficult childhoods, that can very easily sway your perception. And I would just encourage anybody who's in that kind of situation to stay on path, realize that whatever situation you're in isn't forever, and that there's all kinds of people out there and situations that you'll benefit from eventually.
I love that answer. I never even considered the human spirit. The collective human spirit is, I think, what you're referencing there, right? That we all sort of have access to.
Sure, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And at some point, there is something that shifts in that balance of experiences.
Well, so as I say, I think it's there to a certain degree. However, certainly, like any aptitude or personality trait, some people come to value it and recognize it more, and work on that. Because I think all of our personal traits, take work, and a lot of that can only come with life experience and getting older.
True enough. My podcast, like I was telling you earlier, is specifically for young men, encourage them to consider walking with integrity. In your observation, Dave, over time, do you feel culturally young men are doing amazing in this sphere, or do you feel that we're struggling our way forward?
I think there's a lot that are struggling, and I think that they're being torn in so many different directions. Social media, things they see on TikTok, makes it difficult sometimes to take a path and stick with it, not that it has to be a conservative kind of ideal or something. It can
Sure.
be whatever your passion or interest is, but try not to get caught up in this vortex of you know misinformation, and I think the biggest thing is to get a good education, because with a good education, that helps you be more objective, and allows you to filter out things that would maybe otherwise have drawn you in or led you to wrong conclusions.
If you had the collective ear of a good vast majority of young men today who are saying, Dave, we'd like to do this better, we don't know exactly where to start, where are some helpful starting points you would propose they start their exploration in?
Well, myself, I don't spend time on social media, but I do listen to a lot of podcasts, and I listen to a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I do a lot of reading. And I seek out different opinions and try to, so that I can get a comprehensive understanding of a situation, and try not to fall into the polarization of the left or the right. And so, yeah, those are the sources that I look to now. And a public library, it doesn't cost much to go in the library, and there's a lot to be said for the classics. They might have to look up what a classic in literature is, and you can learn a lot from those books. Yeah, and realize that today there's all kinds of struggles for people, but if you read through the classics, you learn very quickly that man's life has been a struggle since the beginning of time, really, and just in different circumstances.
Do you have any off the top of your mind you can think of that really served you well as far as the classics?
Well, there's Ulysses, Homer's Odyssey, anything from Plato. You could read, or even the book on the author, I can't think of now, the author who wrote Les Miserables.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Les Miserables. Yes, Les Miserables by.
But and then also sort of more contemporary stuff. I like to read Mark Twain, and also the English humorist, satirist. What is his name now? His name escapes me.
That's okay. I'm catching you off the word here.
Yeah.
Those are quite some suggestions so far.
Yeah, if you just Google famous authors, and you'll get a very large, very large list to work from.
As they read through the classics, which maybe they may not have considered this before, what lens should they be reading with? Like, what should they be watching out for while they're reading through?
Well, first from a historical perspective, and because as they say, there's a saying, if you don't understand what's happened in the past, it'll recur again. So the history aspect, the geography, did these stories take place in the UK, in Africa, in the Middle East, in ancient Greece, those sort of things, or more recently, like Mark Twain, if you read one of his autobiographies, that's another thing. Autobiographies of famous people. I've read a lot of them.
Yeah.
Churchill, Abraham Lincoln, Pierre Trudeau, a couple of the early Métis leaders in Canada, and early Indigenous chiefs. So the history, the geography, the culture, and then just to have a perspective as you're reading through different books in different periods in time, how things have changed and what individual people had to do to overcome difficult circumstances. And the people that we respect and that we have high regard and we look back on now as being heroes or great politicians or great authors. they kept a very high standard.
Final question, my dear David. Do you have any questions for me?
No, but this was a very pleasant surprise.
Why, thank you.
We're just out for my wife and I are just out for a walk and sat
Yeah.
down for a minute. So nice to bump into you, and hope you have a great
Likewise.
afternoon.
I appreciate that. Thank you for being willing. Like I say, this is the kind of thing that it's like collaboration to help inspire some others a little further in their journey as well. So thank you for taking the time to do so.
You're
I
very
so
welcome.
appreciate that. Yeah, and thank you, my dear. I'll turn the camera off here. If you'd like to follow along when I post this, it'll be a few days before I get to our furniture, but you can find me on YouTube under my name, B-I-N.
B-I-N.
Y-A-M.
Y-A-N.
A-S-R-E.
S-S.
You got it.
Okay, wow, that's
me.
so that's your first name?
That's my full name,
Oh,
Biniam Asris.
Your last name is Azris.
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. And then you'll find a lot of what I do over there.
Okay, cool.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Do you live in Calgary?
I do.
Oh, okay.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Well, nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thank you again. And I'll turn these cameras off. Thank you again, my dear. I appreciate you loaning him to me. Enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you, you too.
And like I said,
The English humorist is driving me crazy.
oh my goodness, you'll wake up in the middle of the night and you're
Yeah,
like, oh.
exactly. You'll sit up and go, oh.
And Vic, have you ever heard of The Count of Monte Cristo?
Yes, yes.
That's another similar sort of